Alright, starting off here with a 1970 Lincoln cent. Here on the reverse it looks very normal as any old Lincoln penny would, but here on the obverse, the front of the penny, it has a partial brockage. So very noticeable type of mint error. You don't need a microscope like this, but we will be looking at a couple errors here where you will need a microscope to see your coins up close, and one of those coins that you need the microscope for is pretty valuable. So this penny here ended up selling for over $60, around 65 bucks. But let's move on to a more expensive coin. Now here is a 1970 S mint mark Lincoln cent. You see that extra metal there at the top of the coin? Those are called die breaks, also referred to as cuds. C-U-D, cud. Now, this coin is the large date. So here's the difference between a large date and a small date. This image by PCGS, you'll see the small date has the high 7 where the large date has a low 7. So there's the difference on the large date, small date 1970 Lincoln cents. Now, this coin is graded by Annex at a mint state 65 red brown, and this penny ended up selling for over $250. Now you can look for these die breaks, these cuds on all kinds of different coins, not just the 1970 penny. You know, some will be much larger than this, some will be much smaller, so it all depends on the coin that the die break is taking place on, how large it is, where the placement of it is on the coin, and things like that. And of course the condition / grade. Now here is a 1970 S mint mark Lincoln cent that has been triple struck. So struck 3 times, 35% off center there. Man, that is awesome. Absolutely love double strikes, triple strikes. They're just awesome type of mint errors visually, and that's why this penny here sold for over $1,000. The coin is graded by PCGS at a mint state 64 red. Now here is a double strike as well. It is the 1970 S large date, that second strike being off center, and this penny ended up selling for a little over $100. It's graded at a mint state 64 brown by NGC. So you're gonna get different grades for pennies. You're either gonna have a brown, or red grade. Red is really what you're, aiming for, but for an error like this, it's $100. Now here is a double strike. This is graded at a red brown by Annex at a mint state 63. It has been double struck, and that second strike being 85% off center. This coin here sold for around $900. Whew, a lot of money there for 1 cent. Now here's a 1970 S. This is what you really need a coin microscope for here on this coin. So make sure you check your 1970 S Lincoln cents if you guys have rolls of them in your coin collection, or if you just come across 1970 S pennies and rolls from the bank, or in pocket change, or in collections that you may have inherited or purchased. Look for doubling on the front of the coin, a double die obverse. So this coin has that doubling there. If we zoom in there on the lettering, the date, you can see that doubling. Very, very visible there on the 1970 S. Man, that is a very, very nice double die. On the phrase "In God We Trust," on the word liberty. Super, super nice coin. This coin is graded at a mint state 64 red. It is the large date, and it's graded by PCGS. Now, if this coin was in worse condition with that doubling, it would have sold for less because, value also depends on the condition. But because it's at a mint state 64, this coin sold for over $3,100. But get this, we go from a mint state 64 to a mint state 65, 1 grade higher, graded by PCGS. We got that gold shield. It's the large date double die obverse. We see that doubling there again on the front of the Lincoln cent. This coin sold for over $9,600. So we go from $3,000 to $9,000, just 1 grade higher, because there may not be many of these 1970 double die obverses graded at a mint state 65. If there's a lot more at a mint state 64, then that's where the difference in values come from. So keep that in mind. Grade population on error coins and regular coins it's going to matter. The grade population is always going to matter. Now here's a 1970 D mint mark Lincoln cent that has been struck through a capped die. So here on the reverse it'll look very normal, and then here on the obverse is where you see that die cap. So very obvious type of mint error. You don't need a coin microscope for nothing like this. Again, you can look for these types of errors on all kinds of other different coins as well. This penny ended up selling for over $130. Now here's the 1970 Lincoln cent that has a couple things going on. One, it has been broad struck, which we can see around the rim of the coin. It's been broad struck onto a curved clipped planchet. So you can see that clip there on the top right hand of the coin. Bottom right, if we're looking at the reverse here, this coin ended up selling for around $75. Now here's a 1970 Lincoln cent that's been struck 85% off center, graded by PCGS at a mint state 64 red brown, and this coin ended up selling for $180. Here is a 1970 D mint mark that was struck off center, and it also has an indent here on the obverse of the coin. As we zoom in there, we can see that indent. And this penny ended up selling for around $95. So keep in mind, you're going to have to pay to have these coins graded, so you're not really making a big profit on something like that. Now here is a 1970 S mint mark large date that was struck 20% off center. This coin ended up selling for $312. So really nice coin there, graded by NGC at a mint state 65 red. Here's a 1970 S mint mark that was struck onto a 10-cent planchet. So we have the Lincoln cent design that was struck onto a Roosevelt dime planchet. This penny ended up selling for over $1,000. Now don't get this confused with, you know, science experiment pennies where people turn a penny a different color by, you know, heat and other things. You can look up science experiment pennies. I've actually done a whole video on that. Just type in gold pennies, couch collectibles, and you'll see that video where I talk about silver and gold pennies. Now here is a no-dated Lincoln cent, so it's from the 1970s, but it has a counter brockage on the obverse of the coin. The reverse looks very normal. This penny ended up selling for over $170. Can't beat that. Here is another no-dated 1970s Lincoln cent that was struck off center onto a ragged clipped planchet, graded by NGC. This penny ended up selling for over $150. So feel free to check out my other coin videos where I talk about mint errors on other coins that you can look for from the bank or in your pocket change. And don't forget to subscribe in the middle, check out the videos to the left of me, and until tomorrow, I'll see you guys in the comment section below. This is Couch Collectibles, and this is where I disappear.